Hey guys, I hope you are all doing well. Today I would like to do a video that is just talking about the films that came out in 2023 and just talking about some of my favourites. If you don't know me already, hi, my name's Caitlin. I talk about all things horror on this channel. This is just my safe space to talk about movies that I like, maybe movies that I don't like so much. So, as we're coming to the end of 2024 and going into 25, I have a video planned that is going to be almost ranking the horror that I saw in 2024. But before I do that, I wanted to reflect and just talk about some movies that came out last year. Just before I go into it, this is just a few of my favourites. As I was ranking them off, they're not going to be in any particular order. It's not going to be from like worst to best or anything like that. These are just ones that I listed off. These are the ones I liked, so we're going to be talking about them. Without any further ado, let's just get into the video. So the first one that I want to talk about is, I was really surprised by this movie, and that is Knock at the Cabin by M. Night Shyamalan. I feel like with recent M. Night movies, it's been very hit or miss, and most of the time it's been a miss for me personally. I know there's a lot of people in the community that love his movies. I watched this, I went into this, I wanted to see it in cinema, but I didn't get a chance to. Knock at the Cabin is a film adaptation by Knock at the Cabin by Paul Tremblay. I am yet to give that a read because this movie absolutely blew me away. Dave Bautista is fantastic. He really stepped up to the mark in this movie, and I love the cast. I love how it makes you, as the movie sort of goes on, it makes you think who's actually bad here, and I love all the characters. I think they were really good. I was so heavily invested in this movie, and I love the ending. The ending's fantastic. If you haven't given it a watch, I highly recommend. I am going to be just reading the back of my DVD just to do a quick explanation of the film. From visionary filmmaker M. Night Shyamalan comes a thriller about a tight-knit family who are taken hostage by four armed strangers while vacationing at a remote cabin. The visitors, led by Dave Bautista, demand that the young girl and her parents make an unthinkable choice to save their family or to save humanity. I, again, love this film. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend this. It was so good and I could not take my eyes off the screen. Fantastic film. Up next we have, okay, don't judge me on this, okay, we have Five Nights at Freddy's. Okay, I'm not a FNAF fan, I'm not a big FNAF addict, however I was one of them teenagers that grew up around Markiplier playing them, and I really enjoyed them videos and I loved them, and I sort of dropped off after maybe like the second game. I have only ever played the first one on my mobile, and like I said, never been big on the franchise itself. However, the work, the effort that was put into this film, I really appreciate. The animatronics designs are spot on. The set design is fantastic. It really feels like that first Five Nights at Freddy's game. Now, is the story really pulling and gripping and like really fleshed out? No, but I can tell that a lot of passion went into this film. It's also got one of my favourite actors of all time, Matthew Lillard, in it, and he does such a good job in this film. And the only thing that I sort of have around that is he just needed a bit more screen time. I feel like he wasn't in it as much as I would have wanted him to be in, and I can see why people loved this film, and I can also see why people didn't like it. However, I can appreciate the passion behind the film. Let me just read the back of it. So recently fired and desperate for work so that he can keep custody of his little sister, Mike agrees to take a position as a night security guard at an abandoned themed restaurant. Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, but Mike soon discovers that nothing at Freddy's is what it seems. Mike's nights at Freddy's will lead him into an unexplainable encounters with the supernatural and drag him into the black heart of an unspeakable nightmare. Yeah, I also think about this film, if you're quite young, or if you know somebody who is maybe putting their toes in at getting into the horror genre, I think this is a great starting film. It is spooky and creepy, but it's very also quite childlike. I think if you're just wanting to get into horror, or you know somebody, or there's a younger person, maybe not necessarily like young, but like maybe if you're about 13 wanting to get into horror movies, like I was that 13-year-old, and I think this is a great starting point to try and get some, like if somebody wants to get into more horror. So yeah, I highly recommend this movie. Let's move on to the next one. So now up next we have Insidious: The Red Door, and this is the 5th installment of the Insidious franchise. I remember watching Insidious 1 when I was about 12 years old, and I fell in love with that film. I loved the second one even more. The second one is my favourite one out of all the Insidious movies. However, it got to 3 and 4, where it's not based around the same family from 1 and 2. And yes, the entity from Insidious 3 is probably one of the creepiest. I didn't care much for 3 and 4. Now Insidious: The Red Door goes back to that family from 1 and 2, and I loved this movie. I watched it in cinemas, and do I like it more than 1 and 2? No, it probably is my 3rd favourite in the franchise, but I really liked it, and this is Patrick Wilson's directorial debut. He plays the dad in Insidious, and he directed this film as well, so it was really good. I think it was very well directed, and I hope he goes on to direct more movies, because I think he did do a really good job in this. In Insidious: The Red Door, the original cast from the horror franchise is back for the final chapter of the Lambert family's terrifying saga, with Patrick Wilson, Ty Simpkins, Rose Byrne and Andrew Astor to put their demons to rest for once and for all. Josh and a college-age Dalton must go deeper into the further than ever before, facing their family's dark past and a host of new and more horrifying terrors that lurk behind the red door. If you have never seen Insidious, there is always a red door, and they go on to explain this throughout the films. I'm not going to go into too much detail about it if you haven't seen it, so yeah, I highly recommend giving them a watch, even the 3rd and 4th one, as much as I don't particularly care much for them, especially the 4th one. It's... oh, I can't even. I can't be negative about this. But yeah, Insidious: The Red Door I really appreciated. I love that they went back to the original family, and it is really creepy. We've got Dalton as a college student, which I really love that setting for him. And yeah, I think everybody did a good job in this film, so I highly recommend this. Up next we have the only movie that I don't have on DVD out of this list. I believe it came out on Amazon. It was an Amazon debut. Let me just get the information up, and that is for Totally Killer. Totally Killer is I love the 80s setting. It's got that sort of light-hearted horror around it, kind of like Happy Death Day, and I mean the films themselves aren't similar, I think, but the sort of themes and the comedy sort of side of it's very Happy Death Day in a sense. It's got that campy 80s to it, and I love campy 80s slasher. It was really fun, and yeah, I just really loved it, and I couldn't take my eyes off the screen when I watched it. I only watched it recently as well. There's another film that came out this year that's very similar to Totally Killer, and I really liked that as well, but that'll be in my video about the 2024 movies. But Totally Killer 35 years after the shocking murders of 3 teens, an infamous killer returns on Halloween night to claim a fourth victim. When 17-year-old Jamie comes face to face with the masked maniac, she accidentally time travels back to 1987. Forced to navigate the unfamiliar culture, Jamie teams up with her teenage mother to take down the psycho for once and for all. This was really, really fun, and I had a really good time watching it, and the cast was really good as well, and it was just something that I really liked and I really enjoyed. So I don't want to give too much away. I feel like it gives a lot away with the description of the film, but yeah, I highly recommend if you kind of like the films like Freaky and Happy Death Day, because like I do. I've always liked films like that. Like I like light-hearted horror comedies, and that's totally like a vibe that I do gel with, and yeah, I highly recommend that movie. Up next we have now this film came out and I saw this in cinema. I thought it was going to go a certain way and it didn't, and it was really quite interesting actually, and that was Megan. I really like dolls in horror movies. It's something that I've always been drawn towards, and you know, I remember like especially growing up and watching horrors in the 2010s when we've got the likes of Annabelle and, you know, Child's Play still making a comeback, and yeah, like I've always sort of gelled towards them types of movies. However, this is quite different. It's quite new and it's very 2020s, it feels like, especially with like AI and stuff like that. But I really enjoyed this film. I think it was quite comedic and it was silly at times, and then also it was really creepy and felt very realistic in a sense. Like this could be something that happens in our lifetime, and it's scary to think about. And if you don't know what Megan is about, Megan is the marvel of artificial intelligence, a lifelike doll that's programmed to be the child's greatest companion and a parent's greatest ally. Designed by Gemma, played by Alison Williams, a brilliant roboticist, Megan can listen, watch and learn as it plays the role of friend, teacher, playmate and protector. When Gemma becomes the unexpected caretaker of her 8-year-old niece, she decides to pair the girl with a Megan prototype, a decision that leads to unimaginable consequences. I really like the design of Megan. I think she's a beautiful doll, and I love Alison Williams. She's been, if you don't know who that is, she is the girlfriend in Get Out, if you've seen that movie. I really do like her as well. I thought it was really cool and really interesting, and yeah, I loved it. Again, it's very light-hearted and it's got a lot of creepy elements in it, and yeah, I love this movie, so I highly recommend this one. Up next we have Scream 6. I absolutely love this cover, by the way. Absolutely adore this. So now Scream is my favourite franchise of all time. Scream 1 is my favourite film of all time, and there's not a single Scream film that I don't like. Now, my least favourite is Scream 3, however, it was very closely followed by Scream 6. I love this film, I really do, and it feels like it follows a lot of similarities between Scream 2, where, you know, the main characters are off to college and it's in a new place, and I really liked it. I absolutely adore the return of Kirby as well. I love her. She's one of my favourite characters in Scream altogether. It's such a shame that Neve Campbell wasn't in this film. I know there's been a lot of bother with sort of pays and things like that, so I totally get why she wasn't in this film. However, it's, you know, as a lifelong Scream fan, you know, I've been watching these films since I was about 4 years old, and yeah, it's a shame, but I understand. And yeah, Scream 6 does do a good job. However, I feel like it is just following the same, you know, Scream trilogy like setting, I feel like. But The kills are really good. Samara Weaving at the very beginning is fantastic in this film. Like I said, the kills are really good. Another thing that sort of let it down for me is the reveal. Now, I love the setting, I absolutely adore where it is and all of that stuff, but the people that it was revealed to be is, again, why it's not my favourite Scream film, and I don't think it will be anywhere as high as up as some of them, but again, it's not that I didn't like it. I actually quite loved it. I went to see it as a Scream 5 and Scream 6 double bill, and it was so good. I really, really do enjoy it. I do love the setting of New York. I love the sort of dynamic between the 4 friends as well. I really love that. The 4 survivors from the most recent Woodsboro Ghostface killings have moved to New York City for a new start. Just as they begin to feel a sense of normalcy, they receive that infamous call: Ghostface is more brutal and relentless than ever and will stop at nothing to hunt them down. Yeah, I really loved this film and I highly recommend it. Okay, up next I want to talk about this film because I saw it in cinema and I am a lifelong Evil Dead fan also. So I went to see Evil Dead Rise. The first 3 Evil Dead movies are some of my all-time favourite films ever. If you've watched my top 10 horror movies, Evil Dead, I do mention that Evil Dead 1, 2 and 3 are on there. They just sort of swap places every now and then because I like all of them for different reasons. Yeah, so I was really excited for Evil Dead Rise because I feel like it was going to go more towards that 2016 Evil Dead that we got. And yes, I was right in that because it is just so creepy and so over the top, and that's what I would expect in an Evil Dead film. Alyssa Sutherland plays such a good character. Moving the action out of the woods and into the city, Evil Dead Rise tells a twisted tale of 2 estranged sisters, played by Lily Sullivan and Alyssa Sutherland, whose reunion is cut short by a rise of flesh-possessing demons, thrusting them into primal battle for survival as they face the most nightmarish version of family imaginable. I love the characters in this. I love everything about it. I feel like it was one of them films that just blew me away in the cinema. I had to get it on DVD as soon as it was released, and I just really appreciate it. Like, you can tell that a lot of love and a lot of work went into it, and that opening scene with the lake and was just breathtaking. Like, it was fantastic. If you haven't seen Evil Dead, I highly recommend watching all of them, including the 2013 one, and then also watch this one as well. And they are truly some of the best in ever to be released. They are fantastic. Got down to the last 3 films that I actually want to talk about. Up first we have a film that completely blew me away as well, was Talk to Me. It's got such a simple concept. So with Talk to Me, it was set up really brilliantly, and you know, it really pulls sort of the strings on grief a lot, and again, such a simple concept but executed so beautifully. And if you don't know what Talk to Me is about, I will just read the back. So, when a group of friends discover how to conjure spirits using an embalmed hand, they become hooked on the new thrill, until one of them goes too far and unleashes terrifying supernatural forces. So, this was directed and written by the Raka Raka brothers. They are YouTubers, and I am so blown away of how perfect this film is. And I've heard that they are working on a new film, so I'm really excited for that as well. So honestly, hats off to them for making a film so brilliantly. They are fantastic, and I can totally see, you know, a thing like this being the newest craze, the newest like sort of teenage craze is to get possessed very briefly by a demon. So yeah, I really love this film, and If you haven't seen it, again, I highly recommend this film. Down to the last two. I can see that my battery is on 1 bar, so I'm going to try and get over these as quick as possible. But the next one I want to talk about is Saw X. What a fantastic installment into the Saw franchise. I personally am a huge fan of Saw. I've loved them since I saw them when I was probably far too young to watch them. I remember googling clips of Saw when I was about 8. So yes, I have always loved these films. I've been really drawn to them a lot over the years, and I remember so me and my partner went to see it in cinema. It came out while we were on holiday in Spain, and the day we went to see it, we had landed back home from Spain. We dropped our bags off and we went straight out to the cinema to go and see it because we were both so excited. Tobin Bell, who plays John Kramer, is back in Saw X, and it's set, I believe it's set between 2 and 3, between Saw 2 and Saw 3, and I'm not mad about that at all. I really like the setting that it's in, and oh my god, it makes you, or it made me as the viewer feel really sad for John Kramer, and it's always been the big discussion, you know, what is John Kramer the villain, or is he, you know, is he right in what he does? And I feel like that's a big discussion within the community, especially ones that especially the discussions that I've seen about it. But I really felt for John in this film, and I love the trap. I love, you know, how I love the, you know, that very modern gore that we're getting, that's so realistic or feels really realistic to me. And I really appreciate it. I can tell that a lot of love went into this film, and I feel like it was executed so perfectly. And yeah, I'm so excited for Saw 11 to come out. I've heard that that's going to be in the works. It might be coming out next year, but I might be wrong. And I'm really excited for it again. So yeah, we also got to see Shawnee Smith again, and I love Amanda. Really cool that we got to see them two working together on an actual trap, and it was so well done. John Kramer is back. The Saw franchise most chilling installment yet explores the untold chapter of Jigsaw's most personal game. Set between the events of Saw 1 and 2, okay sorry, it was between 1 and 2. This story finds a sick and desperate John travelling to Mexico for a risky and experimental medical procedure in hopes of obtaining a miracle cure for his cancer, only to discover that the entire operation is a scam to defraud the most vulnerable. Armed with their newfound purpose, John returns to his work, turning the tables on the con artist in his signature visceral way through the series of ingenious and terrifying traps. Really good. The traps are really, really fantastic in this film, and yeah, the modern day gore is incredible in this film as well. I highly recommend giving this a watch. I'm getting really nervous that my camera's gonna die. It already died when I was halfway through filming this morning, so hopefully it doesn't. But the last film that I want to talk about, and I know I said at the beginning that I'm not going to be ranking these films, but this is probably my favourite film that came out last year, and that is Thanksgiving. Holy hell, Thanksgiving. I was never a big fan of Eli Roth. He is the director of Thanksgiving, and this was originally made as like a trailer for Grindhouse, with the Planet Terror film, and I think that film came out about 20 years ago or something. I might be totally wrong, maybe 15 years ago, but yeah, it was a concept for a fake trailer for them films, and I loved this film so much. It's so gory, and it's very Scream-esque to me. It feels very much like Scream. I love John Carver as the new sort of disguised killer, and it's all obviously set around Thanksgiving. I've never celebrated that personally, but I felt I got really into this movie. I really enjoyed it. I could not take my eyes off the screen. Patrick Dempsey is really good in this film as well. And I love the teenagers. I love the whole cast of this, to be honest. The very opening scene blew me away as well, with the Black Friday stuff, and it was so good. It was fantastic to watch, and I had such a wild ride throughout the entire film, and yeah, I absolutely love this. So, after a Black Friday riot ends in tragedy, a mysterious Thanksgiving-inspired killer terrorises Plymouth, Massachusetts, the birthplace of the holiday, picking off residents one by one. What begins as a random revenge, killings are soon revealed to be part of a larger, sinister holiday plan. Will the town uncover the killer and survive the holidays, or become guests at a twisted holiday dinner table? Yeah, absolutely love this film. Love John Carver. I hope that there is more Thanksgiving films come out because I absolutely adore them. And again, yeah, I think that was my favourite film of 2023. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry I felt like I sort of rushed through at the very end, but I hope you enjoyed this video. Again, my camera is now on death's door, but I hope you enjoyed it, and I will catch you in the next video.